start with those of you who are in the room. So, Michael from Sky, if you want to start off.
Well, welcome to Spurs.
Thank you.
Nice glamour opening game live on Sky against the champions. How excited are you and the team?
Very excited. I mean, if you can pick a game that you think will be the first game that will be the trickiest, this is the one. And I think coming from Sweden and gonna experience this is amazing. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Now, in London, the big derby is Arsenal, but Chelsea-Spurs is a big rivalry as well. Stamford Bridge is becoming more and more the norm. We're playing in big stadiums. I mean, it's going to be fantastic, isn't it? And the atmosphere Sunday, I bet you're relishing it.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up watching English football, and that stadium was one of the stadiums I watched when I was in Sweden. So, and I think actually it's normal now that the women's football is on these stadiums, and I kind of like that. It's not like a big experience. This is one of the games this year. And it's also for me to just get used to it, because I think even more games going to be on these stadiums. So for me, it's like it's a big game. It's going to be a really tough game, but it's also time to enjoy the new stage with me and the new team, right? So it's going to be fun.
It's a tough league, it always is. But what is a good season for Spurs?
I mean, if you look at the last year, of course, they were struggling quite much, and the year before that, they were having a great position in the league. I think, of course, we want to be a top team in this league. But the main thing is to start playing some kind of football that can take us up there. If we're just going to try to create a team that can win games, we're going to succeed a few times. But I think for this year, we're going to make sure we play the Tottenham style. We're going to make sure we try to develop a way of playing that we can win against this team for the long run, basically.
I'm glad you said the Tottenham style, because you yourself and the players have had time to watch the men's first team, and I know you're already quite close with Ange Postecoglou. Have you enjoyed watching the men's team so far this season?
Yeah, I must say, and I'm impressed. I mean, they just played a few games and they're already dictating the games. They still play young players. They score a lot of goals and they win a lot of games. So I'm very impressed what Ange has done this first couple of months. And I'm inspired because I want to do the same stuff. So for me to watch them play against these big teams and actually succeed is really nice to see, because I want to do the same.
So the supporters, they've got a lot to look forward to then, a lot of goals, a lot of attacking play.
Hopefully, but yes, I think they will see a different style of Tottenham women football this year, and hopefully we will have the results directly. But if we don't get the results we want in the first games, we need to make sure we continue to develop the team and how we play, because we want the Tottenham style back for women and the men, and I think the men's team is already there. So let's make sure we start that journey with the women's team as well.
Spurs are certainly one club here, and what a stadium. I bet you're all looking forward to playing in that stadium at some point this season.
Yeah, I mean, we had a friendly game against Aston Villa there, and was, of course, no people there, but you see that in an enormous stadium. And then I was watching the game against Sheffield United, and the end of that game, and with all the supporters, right? So just looking forward to those games there, and hopefully in the long end, we're going to play all the games there, of course.
Finally from me, what impressed you with your meeting with the club and Daniel Levy?
I think when I started to look for jobs abroad, I was trying to find a club with the potential and also the ambition to be one of the top clubs in the world. And for me, when they had this process meeting Andy and then Scott and then Daniel and talking about one club and one identity, it was like, that was the main thing for me. Like, okay, they really want to do this and they believe in doing this for the long time. So I think that's what they send in the signals for me and for all of the players here as well, that we are having a good facilities. We're going to play a few games on the stadium and take it from there, and we're going to have time to build this team. So no, he's an impressive guy, and I think he showed what he wants, and that's why I'm here.
Good luck Saturday.
Thank you.
Hi Robert, good to see you. Just sticking with a similar theme, you mentioned a few times about sort of that alignment between the men and women's team. And I guess from a fan's point of view, you can understand why you'd want to watch the same type of football.
Yeah.
Just from a manager's point of view, what's the kind of help with the men's team and the women's team playing the same style?
So mainly what we have in the club is the head of academy, Simon, is basically running the game methodology for the academy, and he was a part of the recruitment group that both signed Ange and me. And those scouting work, finding a coach that plays a similar style is connected to that. So I'm not going to try to play Tottenham style that I'm learning. I'm going to play my style of football, but that's connected to what they want. So it's like a good match. And I think Ange was doing the same stuff with Celtic and before that. So, and the way it is, it's not like we need to play exactly the same formation, but we need to play a certain style where we can play an offensive way, where we can have a dictating build-up, where we can dare to play out from the back, where we can actually try to go forward even if we have 1-0. We don't want to just protect that. We want to go for 2-0, 3-0. We don't really care if we win with 3-1 then instead of going for 4-0. So I think we're going to have a mentality where we want to score many goals. But then in the long run, we need to have results. I need to be sharp and make sure we don't lose games just because of that. So it's like the mixture of that. And then we have discussions. I mean, we have crossovers all the time with the medical staff, coaches, everything. So we every month we speak about how we play, what we can develop, connected to the Tottenham style, basically.
And you already kind of mentioned about sort of being inspired by Ange. I guess there is a lot of similarities, isn't there? You know, a lot of people have written them off. They lost their star striker, and unfortunately you won't have Bethany England, but she will be coming back. So
Yeah.
I guess you feel that kind of in the club that there is, you know, a real element for the men and women to surprise people this season.
Yeah, and I think it's like a mentality, and you can feel it now. I think they speak about it in the men's team, that it's another environment around the field, and it's coming from the leadership, I would say. Ange is a really good human being to make sure everybody feel like they are part of it, right? And when you are in that atmosphere, that environment, you want to play, you want to develop, you want to do that extra for the team. And if you start there, I think even if you get an injury or whatever, you feel like, okay, but then we take the next one, and we are brave enough to dare to play that player instead. So even if I don't have Beth the first games, I don't really have a stress situation about it. It's like, okay, then someone else will play until she's back. And I think that's what you feel in this club right now, that everybody's feeling like, okay, but then we fix it this way. Or the men's team play away against Arsenal, they're not, stressed about that. They go there and play their way anyway, and with some kind of good result in football anyway. So I think I want to do that, but we start a little bit lower than the men's team because we had a really tough season last year. So I just need to be patient and work from the groundwork, basically. So I'm not stressed. I'm not really stressed about the result in the first games. I just want to really see that we train and play the way we want to do it and take steps from there. And it's been a long preseason, so we need to play now. I need to see where we are at. We need to have this game to make sure what's the next step in the journey we're going to do. So for me, it's like finally a game. Okay, it's Chelsea away, but let's see if we can win that game. And if we're not, okay, what do we need to work on the next week before we play against Bristol?
And yeah, just finally from me, I mean, Chelsea's obviously a huge test, but sometimes with these, big clubs, the sort of traditional top four, I guess, in the Women's Super League, it can be good to play them early when, they're still trying to get their ideas across, and players are coming back from national duty as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can see last year that I think they lost the first game against Liverpool, and I was coaching Häcken this year, and my first game at home against one of the bottom teams was a loss 1-0. So it can happen, right? And I still think, even if they are a really good team that won the league last year, we have some really good players, and we actually have the qualities to hurt them. It's not like we are underdogs that cannot hurt them. I think we are still having national team players on every spot we have, and I think we can compete against them. But of course, they have the same coach for many years, a lot of players working together. So the relationship between their players is further down but I mean, we need to go there and we need to start this journey. So I'm prepared, and the players are prepared.
Anyone else in the room want to ask a question now? No, we can go on to Zoom then. It's fine. Emily from BBC Sport, do you want to go first?
Hi Robert, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you.
Good. Welcome to the WSL. Obviously this week has been a bit disrupted by the international fixtures finishing. Is that something that you would have preferred to have before this? You would have preferred to have the season started before those international fixtures happened?
Well, I think a lot of the coaches and players would like to train in front of the first game of the season, right? But it's also the difference and the difficulties with all the national team breaks, right? So for me, of course, it would be better to have trainings with them until this game and have the national team break later on. But it's I'm kind of used to it as well. Last year as well was always those national team duties, and then was short time before you start the league. So for me, it's like it's the same for every team. But of course, I'd rather have them with me than on national team duties.
And how has that international window impacted this week in training? Is there anyone unavailable for Sunday?
Actually, it's been a good week because those players who were home, who struggled with small injuries, are basically back. So like Amy Turner was back in action, is actually ready for the squad now, for example. So it's actually been a good week where we can train with fewer players and make sure we still work towards the game on Sunday. And now when the players was back today, they just picked up where we are, and so it's actually been a good weeks with few players, because you can have good meetings, good trainings, see them and meet them, and now everybody's back and just preparing. I mean, they were, of course, were a little bit tired today. They flew all over the world yesterday, but everybody's in a good shape.
Thank you. Good luck for the weekend.
Thanks.
Dan, I think you have your hand up there.
Hey Robert, good to speak with you. You mentioned there you come across really positive and that you want to implement your offensive style of play, and that you believe that you can go and hurt Chelsea. Obviously they're the champions. I think they were top goal scorers last year. So how much is the game on Sunday going to be about how resolute you are at the other end in terms of your defending?
I think the most thing you will see is how we're going to press them and defend, of course, because I think they are really good teams. I don't think we can dictate that game for 90 minutes. I think most of the Tottenham style is also about defending high and actually dare to press. I think the men's team is doing that as well. So that's also part of the game, and I think that's the best way to defend, is to actually try to press them and take the ball out high up. And if you do that good, you can actually have good transitions and go for it and score goals as well. So I would say, I don't think we will dictate the game on Sunday. I think we will need to be sharp and defend well and need to take care of the chances we get. But hopefully we can already now show the supporters that we still can dictate some phases of the game, where we can be brave enough to play it out and try to dictate the game. But I'm not stupid, I get it. They are really good and we need to be sharp. So it's going to be a mixture of how much can we dare to do it and how much do we need to adapt, just because it's Chelsea way in the first game, basically.
And in terms of your actual target this season, what would you see as progress? Would it be, just a better last season's league position, or do you have a certain kind of target in terms of where you'd like to finish come the end of the season?
Yeah, I mean, we have discussed it, and we have discussed it for the 2 years, that next year we will absolutely should be competing about the Champions League spots. And this year, of course, we need to improve, we need to be better. But should we try to guess where we're going to end up in the table right now? It feels a little bit like we're starting really from the bottom, and we need to make sure how does it look like the first games. I mean, I can tell you that we want to come better than last year or top 6 or whatever, but we have decided that we're going to try to focus on the performance and how we can play these first games in a good way. And then when we reach the Christmas time, we will have a better, what do you call, like, knowledge about how we can aim in the table. But of course we want to be better. Of course we want to be on the top half of the table, for example. But we just need to discuss that later on and make sure we play better football and try to win the games now, because I kind of more like focusing on the performance than the result, because the result is coming from the performance. So I'm not really talking too much about results with my teams. And the board is not really pushing me to, you need to come top 5 or whatever this first year. It's more like, let's make sure we play the Tottenham style. Let's make sure we start winning games our way, and then we're going to discuss in the next phase where should we aim this year.
Thanks, Robert. Best of luck for the weekend. Thank you.
Thanks.
And Rachel, girls on the board, please.
Sorry, did you say Rachel?
Yes.
Welcome. Just wondering, first of all, how you're settling in, how you're finding all the facilities, and how you found as well getting in new players when you're a new coach, and how kind of tricky that is when you're trying to make your mark.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a big move, actually. I realize that England is a big country, London is a big city, Tottenham is a big club. But I would say, the most tricky part is to move with my kids and my wife, for them to go to English school, and my wife to try to settle this one. So, I mean, that's the most tricky part. To be a football coach I've done that all my life. I know how to do that, but it's still, of course, to meet these players and, really talented players, and try to sign new players to a squad who I doesn't have worked with before. So I think it's, the first 3-4 months is really much about getting to know everyone in the staff, around the club, the players, and then we will see where we take us. But I think working as a football coach with this environment, with all these staff members that are amazing, I think it's easy. It will be more tricky now when we start playing games and if you win or lose and so on, but to just be a coach in this environment is actually easy.
And I know managers often talk about working kind of a window ahead. Is that something you can think about as a new coach as well? As obviously you brought in some new players, but once you know what to expect from the squad you have, you start thinking about the next window.
Yeah, I think we're actually speaking about the next 2 windows, because we need to be sharp and we need to see what's happening out there, and we need to make sure that the top clubs in this league are quite good to buy players and lend them out and everything. So we need to be really sharp what we're looking for and that they fit the style we want to have. But as a new coach, you don't want to just move every player in the squad and remove them with new ones. I want to give them the chance to see where they are at, right? So I'm going to work with the squad we have right now and make sure that they get a chance to show who they are. But of course, we already now look into what kind of new talented players can we bring for the next window, because we are 25 players. 14 of them will not start the game, and if they don't play too much, they will not stay in this club forever if they're not actually playing. So we need to always be prepared for that. But once and again, we have different players and different positions. So I think we have a good squad to start the season.
Brilliant. Well, best of luck. Thank you.
Thanks.
David, you got your hand up there.
Hi Robert, I hope you're well. What interactions have you had with Irish Postecoglou, just in terms of how you're working together, the philosophy between the two of you? What have you learned from Irish Postecoglou?
Can you help me? I didn't really understand.
It was a similar question to Michael. So, what have you had with, basically, you've had meetings with Anne?
Okay, sorry.
Things like that.
So, I mean, we have done some movie recording for one of the sponsors, speaking about the cars, but most of all we have met and spoke about football, of course, and the style, and I mean, when we have discussions, it's also about, he's a really experienced coach, so I ask him a lot of good questions about situations that end up and how he had done that and so on, of course, because for me it's like, for me to develop, I need to, listen to people that know stuff, and then I can take that in and make it like, can I use that or not? So, I mean, for me, he's a role model. I think he's an amazing coach and human being, so I'm trying to ask him dilemmas that I have when I meet him, and he can tell him how he works with that. So that's one of the part, but also about just playing football, how he dare to be brave, how he can play with the way he do, and I can speak about how I do it. So I mean, we speak football and leadership basically, and I think we're both listening to each other. So I think it's a nice talks. Yes.
Robert comes across as a guy that's very classy in how he speaks. He's very classy in terms of stuff that come out of mental health, for example, with one of the men's players recently. Do you get that feeling having worked with him day in, day out?
Sorry.
Sorry, so basically just another question on managers is how personable he is, sort of working with them. But I think
Okay. Yeah.
the same question that we just.
Yeah, I mean, I heard you spoke about mental health issues and everything, but of course it's if you can see the players and if you can work with the whole picture of the players and the squad and everybody, then it's so much easier to help them to play good football. And I think, like he said about the players still have issues. I'm still having a family. I still have my kids to deal with in the evening as well. So I think if you understand that it's so much easier to give them feedback to players or the staff members when it's tricky times or whatever. So I think for me to hear him talk about it, I just realized that's what I'm working with every day. I'm a football coach, but I think sometimes I'm more of a mental coach and a leader everywhere. So I think it's a mixture of everything, and it's not only football tactics, it's so much more. And I think the leadership in Tottenham is that style right now, that we want to see the whole picture. It's one club, one identity, and we want to make sure that the players and staff here are feeling good and they feel like this environment is perfect for us to be around. So I think both me and Ange is really keen to make sure that happens.
Thanks, David. I think we'll move on to Camilla now.
First over here.
Can you hear us, Camilla? No. Are there any other questions for anyone on the Zoom call? Oh, sorry. Sorry, Camilla, we can't hear you. No, sorry about that. We couldn't hear you. Is there any other questions on the Zoom call, or we'll end it there? No, we're all good. All right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks.